Hey friends, thanks for joining the Ridge Roundtable Podcast. Just wanted to stop by before the episodes start, just to let you know that we had a couple technical difficulties that took place, and so what you're going to hear in these episodes is sound that came from our cameras and not our microphones. So if you just hang with us just for a few episodes, after that, our sound will be back to good quality again. But thanks for understanding, and thanks for tuning into the Ridge Roundtable Podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share with friends, and we appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
You were mentioning desserts a little bit ago.
I like desserts.
But like, is it all ice cream cones, or is it did they fry, like Mexican restaurants do the fried ice cream? Ooh. Is it the fried ice cream?
No, just the cone. I like the cone, and I'll put up with the ice cream because it's part of the cone.
Do you like empty out the ice cream just to?
Sometimes, like if it's way over the top ice cream, I'll like make it where it's just even.
Yeah.
And are you a soft serve person?
No, I actually prefer. You know what the best ice cream is?
Jeez.
Brahms.
You like Brahms better?
I do like
really?
Brahms.
Okay.
Do you know Brahms,
No.
Joey? I didn't think he did. He looked at me, he had this face like, yeah, Brahms. And then I was like, he doesn't know
Kind of
Brahms.
Baskin Robbins, but it is a little different.
A little bit, a little creamier maybe. I don't know.
Custard or something.
I don't know. Brahms is best.
Good. It's in East Texas,
Mm-hmm.
West Texas, North. Yeah. North.
It doesn't come south, really. You know what the farthest south Brahms?
Yeah.
Hillsboro. Do you know where that is, Joey?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know how much.
Yeah.
At 35 driving.
They also have a pretty good hamburger, bro.
Yeah, they do.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
If you need a gallon of milk, you can get it too.
What's the? Oh, someone was trying to put me onto Carver's, but they're from the Midwest.
Okay.
And so Midwesterns swear by that.
Hey, we had Culver's. You had Culver's?
I'm sorry. Did you know that the whole time? Were you just letting me be wrong?
I actually thought there was a Carver. I was totally with you. I was like, oh, yeah, no.
Oh, wait.
Always the jerk who corrects you. I didn't want to be.
Do you know what Carver's is, though? It's the ice cream cake brand.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But Culver's,
is the Butterburger.
Is the Midwestern thing.
Okay, yeah.
A
Good.
butter burger?
That's what their thing is.
That's what they say.
It's okay. I mean, it's a good burger.
All right.
All right.
There's very few burgers that I'm.
I mean, it is post-lunch. Why are we talking about this?
Because it is post-lunch, and we all have a sweet tooth right now. And our people do not care anything about this. So, well, welcome in on our conversation. That's what you get for joining us on the Ridge Roundtable Podcast. What was our friend?
It's your fault.
We're talking about it. We think you should too.
Right.
It's on you.
There you go. That's good.
Well, we are continuing our series Threads, and we're well in it now, y'all. And so if you're just now joining us, and this is your first episode, I guess it's not totally necessary to go back and listen to our previous episodes. I think it would be helpful, the cadence that we sent. But today we are going to be talking about grace, the idea of grace. Now, this is one of those things that I admit that when I'm preaching, I will just say or assume people know what I'm talking about. Right. But I would classify this as one of those words that we overuse and we just don't define well enough. So we're going to do that right out of the gates. What is grace in just a second. And then we're going to take it. What we've been doing with Threads is taking a look from Genesis to Revelation of how these threads continue throughout. And so we're going to do that today. So let's start with it. What is grace? How do we understand it biblically? Did you like that?
It was good.
Okay.
I think grace really is one of those things that's easily defined. Like we can define it somewhat succinctly, but the way it layers through the whole story, I think, is much deeper than we think it is. I do think my good old Vacation Bible School foundational understanding of grace checks out, which is, God giving us what we don't deserve. He chooses to give us things that we could never earn, we wouldn't ever earn. So he's giving us those good things that we don't deserve.
A definition I've always liked in the Ragamuffin Gospel, a guy named Brennan Manning says, grace is the active expression of God's love.
Love it.
I love that. It's like a lot of times grace can seem a little ethereal, I feel like. It's like, it's an activity that God enters into. Like it's a choice God makes kind of thing. It's not passive. I thought that was always helpful for me.
That's good. Some popular definitions you might have heard before is unmerited favor. It's not earned or deserved. And it is the thing man needs. Salvation is a core tenet of grace.
Grace and saved.
And And well, again, you said one of the things about this topic is like saying the end thing first, and I'm gonna do that.
You kind of have to give it away.
Yeah, and that is it is not only something that is given to us that we don't deserve, which is through various blessings in salvation, but it is like this supernatural thing that heals the soul of all of its cravings. Because when you look through Scripture, you just see God meeting all these needs of the human heart, whether it be love, forgiveness, meaning, purpose, community, hope, security, power, like by His grace.
Yeah. And I think it's important for me personally to remember that God's grace is a byproduct of the fact that He is gracious, that we can understand grace because
It's a characteristic.
that's right. Just like His sovereignty, just like His faithfulness, He actually is gracious. And that's why we can find the thread. I know we're going to go there eventually, or I think we are. That's why we can find the thread through the entire Bible.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get it mixed up that, the Old Testament God is not a God of grace. And then Jesus popped in and suddenly He became, now the New Testament is great. No. God is gracious.
Yeah. You mentioned VBS while ago, like the old kind of Sunday school way, God's riches at Christ's expense.
There you go.
Was the 1990s way of defining grace. It's like that puts grace only in the New Testament context.
That's right.
It's like, so we're kind of, without realizing it, or probably without meaning to, indoctrinated thinking that it's a New Testament thing that only happens after Christ and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, all the way through.
Yeah, and I think it happens legitimately if you don't read the Bible all the way through. I think John 1:17 messes with people if you don't read it in the context that it's meant to be, which is that, through Moses came the law and through Jesus came grace. Well, yeah. That is 100% true. It's biblical, but it's not like grace is only confined to the new covenant.
Right.
So I'm excited for us to kind of talk through that.
As a matter of fact, like I think it was last episode you said, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, you were like, oh wait, we thought this topic was the thread.
Right.
And everything builds off of that. But then the next episode, you're like, no, it's this one.
It's this one.
And then this one, like, I would argue as well, because everything He gives us is a result of His characteristic of being gracious.
100%.
So it's like, oh wait, so that's why I love this series.
Because we keep thinking we're discovering the thread every single week.
So let's start with that. One of the conversations you guys were just having was, people often associate the concept of grace with only something associated with the New Testament and gospel and what Jesus has done for us. We will get to that and unpack that, but we first start, where do we first see grace exemplified in the Scriptures?
Jeff, you go first.
I feel like this is Joey's answer.
Okay, yeah.
We feel like we should give it to him. This is
It's kind of a big deal to Joey.
All right. I didn't tell you that Carver's wasn't the hamburger chain, so I'll let you go first.
But did you know it was ice cream cake? That's the question.
I did not.
Okay, so there you go. Only those who really like dessert like me.
I like how Joey's opening his Bible to the very first page. Off we go.
Yeah, if you want me to, I wasn't, and then you said that. I was like, oh, well, actually, I will. My answer will change now. No, I think the very fact that God was, He's eternal, so He's always existed, and it was by His grace that He even decided to create heavens and the earth and to create man. So when we appropriate just even creation, and the desire to have image bearers is a sign of His grace. But if we're thinking about it more toward,
So the first time it appears as in the table contest.
that's right. Yeah, I'm an overachiever.
That blank page right for us.
She challenged me. I said I'd go for it. But even more so, what you have is Adam and Eve, and I don't want to assume you're overly familiar with this text. Some of you are, because we've talked about this text on this podcast before. But I just love Genesis chapter 3 because you have, for the first time, man failing, man sinning, and the Old Testament, quote unquote, Old Testament God gets this bad rap of just being so wrathful and, vengeance seeking and, all this kind of stuff. And what you see after their fall in Genesis chapter 3, verse 8 is, and they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And you don't sense full head of steam and like, he's coming running and he's mad and he's angry like a dad who's like going to get his toddlers and discipline his toddlers. it's this, he just comes with his presence, and they go run and hide, and then their sin and shame. And then what you see, so I think that's a sign of grace, that he's pursuing them. And he pursues his image bearers. And then there are consequences for it. But then obviously what you see after that is he has the first animal sacrifice, and he covers them with animals' clothing, he kills the animals to cover their nakedness. And then the sign of grace that I think often gets looked over is if they stayed in the garden and ate of the tree of life, they would have lived forever in their sins. So the consequence of being taken out of the garden, and for him putting the guard at the garden to not let them back in, is another sign of grace. So it's grace upon grace upon grace, even though the word doesn't show up. And that's really important. And that's where the theology of it is, systematic theology, a portion of grace comes in. There's times where the word is actually written, but then you see the ethic of it throughout Scripture, like you do in Genesis chapter 3. How'd I do?
You did great.
So that's my favorite. This is my favorite, particularly as a former Catholic, where it's all sin and harsh and whatnot. That was my experience, and everyone's experience as a Catholic. That, man, grace is from the very beginning. Yeah. So what about y'all?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that God knew before he created man that we were going to need to be rescued.
Yeah. And then he still did it anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it's a part of his character, like everything that happened between Adam's first breath and Jesus's last is kind of grace.
Yeah.
Like all of that is because of that initial, well, not because of, but it's mirrored by that initial pursuit of Adam and Eve in the garden. I think that's why you sense it there first.
Yeah. As you just walk through the story, Cain kills Abel, but then God marks Cain so that Cain won't befall some sort of tragedy and similar thing. So there's grace shown to a guilty person there. You got Tower of Babel, right? And they try to all stay in one place and not doing what God told them to do. It's going to result in an end that they don't intend, so God spread them out. So even that's an act of grace. And you get to Noah. He could have wiped out everybody, but he at least preserved one family for a remnant. So there's grace in that. Just like there's so many things, like each mile marker that you come to, you kind of zoom back out. So like, where is that theme showing up? How is God being gracious? That's just a great question to ask. How is God being gracious? How is God blessing? How is God punishing? How, just ask those kind of things. But you can usually find grace in there. Yeah. Somewhere.
I think, the law itself is grace, right? It was a way that God provided to his people for them to be in right relationship with him.
Yeah.
So it's not that the law is not gracious. The law itself is grace.
And the reason for them being in a right relationship with him was his choosing of them to set them apart.
That's right.
Because he decided that.
Yeah.
Not them. Just even that today.
Deuteronomy 7:8. It was not because you were more in number, because clearly they weren't, but it is because the Lord loves you. It was just by the Lord's choosing, not by anything earned, deserved, no merit whatsoever. It's like, I used to use this as a student pastor, right? I use it a little less now, but it's not because of your awesomeness. It's because of your lack of awesomeness, that God decided to save you. And you see that with Abram. We mentioned this in previous episodes, Genesis 12, but the choosing of making him a great nation to bless all the families of the earth, and it carries on. But let's get a little bit more Old Testament law. Do you guys have anything on law, sacrificial system, even of a sign of God's gracious invitation to continually return back to him?
Well, just the idea of the sacrificial system, it's a system so that you can continue to be made right with God in spite of what you have done wrong. Right. And I can't remember if we talked about this on mic or off mic, but just the fact that for every sacrifice, I think almost every sacrifice, if not every one, if you, because of your socioeconomic status or whatever, don't have this particular type of animal to sacrifice, here's a plan B.
Yeah.
That you can afford. So it's like, have grace upon grace. Like, here's grace for everybody. Oh, and for you guys, hey, I just want to make sure that this counts for you too. Just there's so much stuff. I remember in Leviticus in school, we did a chart, and one of the things we did, it was really fun. I'll show it to you done before, but you break the entire book down by message statement, by overall headings, by chapter, by paragraph, and you're trying to get it down literally to the smallest bite-sized thing you can, verse by verse by verse, all the way through the book of Leviticus, and then you trace the themes.
Yeah.
Trace who's speaking, what they're speaking about, what's the thing. And grace is like the predominant theme all the way through the book of Leviticus. So when people say they don't like Leviticus, my response is, well, I don't think you've read it right. Because if you're looking for something to do on Tuesday, yeah, it's definitely not that. But if you're looking for, man, where does God's grace, like, where is it extremely visible? Book of Leviticus. And God's doing most of the talking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like every bit of that. So anyway, I nerd out on that.
Well, yeah, and it just made me think of, grace is connected to a couple of things, in my opinion, here as we unpack this, just practically for the believer. The big God, little man. I think it kind of, grace helps us right size kind of where we are in this thing, because it's not earned or deserved, and we did nothing. It was only by him. And even you saying that about Leviticus, it was like, oh man. And then it moves me to a heart of gratitude, away from a heart of like, why not? How come I can't get this? I can't get that. I think with that, because that gets me to this. There are sometimes that we don't get what we want, and that's also gracious. We think it's him robbing of us of grace.
So you might be perfecting this.
But he might be, yeah. I was actually planning on asking a question, but I just think I answered the question, which is, does sometimes God withhold his grace, and then why? What do you guys think?
I think that sometimes God withholds what we want in his graciousness, which is what I think.
Perception.
Yeah, I think, which is what you just said. So I think it's definitely the Garth Brooks song. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers.
Yeah.
You know?
That
Joey's eyes got real big, like, whoa, where are we
music?
going?
What are we doing?
Or the whiskey grounds.
I think theologically, I don't know that God can withhold his grace because he is grace.
Yeah. So the outworking of his grace would be withheld because of blessing and things like that. But like you say, I don't know how you would get around the truth that whatever God does is going to be in line with God's character. Part of God's character is that he is gracious.
That's right.
Everything he's doing has to be in line with that.
Yeah.
So that's where you zoom out from a biblical theological standpoint and look at systematic theology. That's how those two come together.
The system would say, it's God can't withhold his faithfulness either. He is faithful.
Yeah.
It's who he is.
So I guess it's good to just kind of highlight here the purpose of grace. There is a drawing back to him. I might be splitting hairs here, getting too in the weeds, but like just differentiating between like there are just blessings for blessing's sake out of his grace, but not everything is a sign of. I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I know. Like I just want to like say here, like it's not, everything's not health. We're not talking about health and wealth. Like there's a place for grace, and it isn't just
cheap.
Yeah.
No cheap grace. Is that where we're going?
Yeah.
We're going Bonhoeffer? What are we doing here? What's happening?
Well, let's get to the New Testament is what I think I want to do, because I have a question there, but I don't know how to fully explain it. So Jesus,
we're just going to skip the prophets.
That's what I was about to say.
Well, no.
Judges,
please,
prophets.
please.
We're skipping all those.
Okay.
I will go where you guys are prepared.
No.
I like it when Jeff shows his notes and they're all just questions. There's no answers.
So yeah, how is grace fulfilled in Jesus and the outworkings of that New Testament?
Oh, we are skipping the points.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how is Jesus the fulfillment of? Ask it again.
I think to get there, you got to go to the prophets. That's how we know.
That's what I
Jesus
think
is.
too. I mean, Matthew. That's what I was going to say. Like
Yeah.
the whole first part of Matthew is the grace of God to reveal Jesus through the prophets.
Yeah.
The prophets weren't just there as grace to the Israelites, which they were. I mean, it is gracious of God to say, stop what you're doing and repent. That is gracious. But he also reveals the fact that they're not going to stop what they're doing. They're not going to repent, and there are going to be consequences, but there is going to be one who will come and stop all of those things.
Yeah, I actually really appreciate the pausing and going back, because I don't have much, obviously, on the prophets in this, and I love the way you painted that, particularly at a time in which it was written where there was exile happening and there was a lot of apparent consequence happening because of their lack of faithfulness.
But even in the prophets, like in Jeremiah, the grace of God shows up to the Gentile people, to God telling the exiles, hey, while you're living in exile, benefit the people around you. they're not, quote, my people, but you live in such a way that you benefit them and you make them better. So grace is going to get extended through God's people to everyone around. And so there's little pockets of grace everywhere throughout the prophets.
Yeah. I'm looking at Ezekiel chapter 33. I literally just opened like, let's find a verse. There's so many. But it's when God's putting Ezekiel as their watchman of the nation of Israel. It goes down 33 verse 12. You son of man, say to your people, the righteousness of the righteous shall not deliver him when he transgresses, and as for the wickedness of the wicked, he shall not fall by it when he turns from his wickedness, and the righteous shall not be able to live by his righteousness when he sins. Though I say to the righteous that he shall surely live, yet if he trusts in his righteousness and does injustice, none of the righteous deeds will be remembered. But in his injustice that he has done, he shall die. Again, though I say to the wicked, you shall surely die. Yet, words like yet in a prophetic book, or like, oh, this might be a grace key right here.
Yep.
Yet, if he turns back from his sin and does what is just and right, if the wicked restores the pledge, gives back what he has taken by robbery, and walks in the statutes of life, not doing injustice, he shall surely live, he shall not die. None of the sins that he has committed shall be remembered against him.
That's the Old Testament.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty gospel sounding.
For
and
sure.
That's a little bit before Jesus. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, God is always gracious. He's always acting in grace towards us, either really in a blessing sense or in a removal of blessing to draw us back to himself sense. Because that's what he does with the nation of Israel. I think that's the example we get from him. It's like God's going to get your attention and try to draw you back to himself.
Yeah.
It can go one of two ways, how that plays out.
Well, and I think about, transitioning back to the New Testament, I think about the fact that it's not like we suddenly deserved it in the New Testament.
Right.
Like that's the definition of grace. It's unmerited. We're never going to deserve it. So even after in the fullness of time, Jesus as God incarnate comes to earth, it's not like, okay, now these people, they deserve Jesus. So no, that's the definition of grace. It was just in the fullness of God's timing. It's not because suddenly people deserved a savior.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to go to Jesus now.
He's so scared. He's like, is it time? Do we go to Jesus?
John 1:14 and 17, the word became flesh, full of grace and truth. The grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. Romans 3:23, 24, all sin and fall short of the glory of God. We're justified by his grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Jesus Christ. So when I say like he's the embodiment, it's like, there are these graces, or by God's grace in the Old Testament, and then he is like the vehicle. It just sounds so sacrilegious, but he ushers in a new age of what it means to experience God's a relationship with God through Jesus, and it's the ultimate grace because of the sacrifice that he ultimately paid, and that we get to trust in as a way to be in relationship.
Yeah. And if you want to get nerdy for a second, from a theological standpoint, it's the Father's grace.
That's right.
That we see. We see that Ephesians 1, so verses you just read. It's that the Father chose through his grace to save us by the atoning work of his Son. By grace we have been saved through faith. So just even that, it's like, okay, it's God the Father. Again, if you want to put the Old Testament with the New Testament, make it all work together. The Old Testament primarily focuses on the Father, pointing towards the coming of the Son, and the Son and Father sending the Spirit, but it's God's grace all along that's empowering and moving the story along.
I love that. I had never read this verse before. That's not true. I'm sure I have. Actually, I know I have. I've read the Bible through several times.
Studied it.
I don't know. This just jumped out at me. I was just doing a little bit of a word study. 2 Timothy 1:9 says, God saved us and called us to a holy calling, not because of our works, but because of his own purpose and grace, which he gave us in Christ Jesus before the ages began. So it's to me, that backs up what you just said, which is grace has always been there before the ages began. Like it proves Joey's point too, back on the table of contents.
and you can get sloppy with it. I won't say bad theology. You can get sloppy with your theology, thinking that Jesus was a result of God having to fix a problem.
Right.
Or that the church is the result of Israel. But like, no, before anything happened, Jesus was the plan.
Yep.
Before there was man, before there was sin, Jesus was already the plan.
Yep.
So if sin hadn't happened, somehow Jesus still would have been the plan.
Right.
To unite and redeem all things. I don't know how that works necessarily, but Yeah, I mean, just the fact, again, it's, I've had Brendan say it, it's the active expression of God's love. That active expression started before creation.
Yeah.
Like you said, you had to cut off contact.
Joey wins.
Joey, what does it mean?
You're just making up for me skipping the prophets and making me feel bad about it. No, that's really good. I mean, we could go on. I think, we talk about not to like, we can go through the Pauline letters and we know how much Paul wrote about God's grace. Same thing through Revelation. I think everyone gets the idea of the thread. What I really want to do is, if you guys are up for it, is just talk the practicality of it for the 2025 believer.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so what? Like, yeah, we see it.
We believe you.
Yeah, because I think we clearly like believe very strongly in this thread that it is literally from before the in the table of contents all the way through to whatever comes after the book of Revelation and a book in the Bible. So what's the so what in grace and why it matters to the believer today?
Because grace doesn't just save you; it grows you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of the term means of grace.
Mm-hmm.
That there really are divinely ordained practices that are going to grow us. I think sometimes we also call them spiritual disciplines. The semantics of that can be tricky because in America we hear spiritual discipline and think, oh yeah, so I'm going to, same as what I'm working out. If I don't work out, I'm not going to grow. That is true, but it's a means of grace that grows you. You have to be dependent on the grace of God.
Put you in a position to
growth.
experience what God will do through that.
100%. And so sometimes when I hear the term spiritual disciplines, and again, like there's a quip class called Spiritual Disciplines 101. It's an important, it's all of those things are good. But if we could maybe in our brains know that those are somewhat similar terms, is a good reminder of that it's the engine of growth.
Can we pull on that thread a little bit? So, yeah, I think there's the salvation conversation and then there's the growth conversation. But there's this works versus grace in the salvation conversation, and then there's works versus grace in the sanctification, the growth process.
Yeah.
And so what are when you're sitting down with somebody and you're talking to somebody about this idea of grace and it being the way in which we grow, and yet where works come in, how do you guys talk about works and grace?
Yeah, I think it's the idea that you never move beyond the need for grace. As the grace that saves you is the grace that keeps you, is the grace that changes you, will ultimately one day fully redeem you.
Yeah.
It's the same grace all along because it's the same Father extending grace through the same Son, right? And so it's we tend to want to move on to the deeper things. It doesn't get any deeper than that. I mean, it really doesn't. It's God's empowering active work to save us, his empowering active work to keep us, his empowering active work to change us.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I always say, some of what you guys have said, but I use the word fuel. Grace is the fuel that we run on without a conscious understanding that it's he who sustains you. That you'll turn it into straight up discipline, and you'll run on fumes if you don't have if grace as your fuel.
Yeah.
And it really is what I think you said that well. What continues to change you, and so
They got awesomeness and fuel.
There you go. Those are the words that I will coin. That's really good. Any pastoral encouragement as you guys think about this? For me, it's kind of similar to the previous pastoral encouragement that I've shared before, but like God is always the initiator of pursuing people. He's the initiator of us to be his chosen people. He's the initiator of grace, and I love that. It's not dependent on me. And I think the more I grew and the more I understand my daily desperate dependence on him and his grace to sustain me, to fuel me, like, dare I say that my life just got things just kind of get a little easier. Not easier in circumstance, but easier in dealing with those circumstances, to know that everything comes from him, and he's the initiator of it, and he never leaves me or forsakes me, and that's his grace to me.
Yeah, I think I will sometimes go to Philippians 1:6, that he who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. God began the good work of salvation at the very beginning.
Yeah.
He pursued me personally within that plan. And he began that good work in me. He initiated it, and he will be faithful to complete it until the day of salvation. And so it's just a reminder that even when I am pursuing him, even when I am being disciplined in my walk, he's the one who initiated that. It's not like I'm going to suddenly work hard enough to deserve him. If I can just remember that he started that good work and he's going to complete it. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of me, and I want to grow because of what he's already done and what he is going to do. So why wouldn't I want to grow in a relationship with him? And that is the grace that fuels it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think I would say just like anything else that God gives to us, it's so we can bless others. He's been given grace, so we have to be givers of grace.
Boo.
You know, it's just the fact that, you know, if you think about, you know, if this is who God is and our mandate is to image God,
Yeah, that's good.
then that's one way to image God. How do we engage with people with whom we don't agree? How do we engage with people who are just doing wrong things? How do we extend forgiveness with integrity in a way that honors the Lord? Also tries to win others. Just all those types of things. Like we are called to be givers of the grace that we've received.
The fact that it took 30 minutes to get to that point, I'm a little ashamed. And I think I want to talk about that. Even though we were landing the plane. Because I think grace is something we always want for us, but we never want to extend to others. And the reality is that God gave it for the sins of the world, and not just you. And, you know, we hear from the pulpit a lot. Like, we love when we talk about forgiveness for us, but we don't like talking about how we forgive other people. So what does it look like practically? You know, we'll wrap after this, but what does it look like practically to offer a grace to others, just like we have received grace? I think we can't really give grace unless we first, and I think a lot of people have a hard time having grace for themselves. Receiving God's love and receiving God's grace.
Saw that episode all day.
Right.
They want to continue to earn God's favor, and they feel like they have to do the disciplines to earn God's favor.
Right.
And I actually just wrote this on the whiteboard for my D group. It's like, you know, God's on one side and he has wrath towards sin, and then you have the cross, and then you have us on the other side of that cross. And like, that's the lens in which God sees us, is through the lens of the cross. And that is, he sees Jesus when he looks at us. So he doesn't look at us with sin and shame and disappointment. He looks at us like a son, and that he loves and he pursues. So first of all, it's dealing with that with ourselves. And I don't think we can really love and share God's good graces unless we first get that kind of settled. Right. But what else does it look like?
I don't know. When I was pretty resolved as a young mom to try to teach my kiddo grace.
How'd that go?
I mean, actually pretty good.
That was a pretty hard lab.
I was good at it.
Okay.
And so I really would try, like, from the time she was in the car seat in the back. And she had been she was one of those kids we call strong-willed. Just means you had to use a lot of self-control as the grown-up in the room. Anyway, and so sometimes, you know, before we get out of the car, if she had an especially difficult afternoon before we got out of the car, I would say something like, hey, you know what? Let's go inside and get a special treat and sit down together. Not because you acted right today, but because God shows me grace when I have ugly days, and he still forgives me and gives me grace, gives me things I don't deserve. And so let's go in and do this. So I would try to do object lessons all along the way, because I didn't want her growing up thinking that she had to earn it from me, that she had to earn my love, that she had to, you know, perform for me.
Correct.
And so I have to sometimes hear that message, preach it to myself a little bit. When I think that my excellence in anything is going to make God proud of me. Like, boy, let's remember how you tried to teach that to your 3-year-old? Well, in the situation with you and God, you're younger than the 3-year-old. Like his infinite knowledge, and you know, that's a bigger gap. And so I think I try to remember the same thing that I taught her. Was that's how I experienced that with God.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
I think just a few diagnostic questions. You know, who am I holding a grudge against? There's no way you're showing grace to that person, literally, if you're holding a grudge against them. Like,
Oh.
you're not extending forgiveness, right? Who am I sitting in judgment over? Like, I'm just watching them, and I can find so many things wrong as I look. It's like, well, good indicator.
You okay over
People's
there?
names are coming into my head, and I'm like, I got
seeing
no work to
faces
do.
right
I got work to do.
Yeah. And I think the last one we talked about this on staff here at the Ridge is just always assume the best. Assume the best, go to the person, but who are you able to assume the best about? Who you constantly just, it's a finding fault thing. I think if we're truly grace filled, we can overlook faults, or we can at least put them in the proper perspective. Oh, that's an outlier of this relationship. So let me assume the best, go to the person, make this right. I'll extend grace to them. Hopefully they'll reciprocate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Shoot.
I know.
Jeff won pastoral encouragement, and you won theology at the beginning. I am the loser of this episode.
Let's go get some ice cream.
Some ice cream.
If you got to this point and you're still a little fuzzy, ultimately this is what we want you to encourage you with. For by grace you have been saved. Yeah. Through grace. For by grace you have saved you through faith. I was like, I'm really about this grace thing.
Wow.
Jesus came, died for the sins of the world, rose again from the dead. And the Bible says if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, you'll be saved.
Yep.
And so that's our prayer for you, and that you will be on this beautiful journey of grace in your life, and that realize that there's a God who loves you and pursues you just like he pursued Adam and Eve in Genesis chapter 3. He's pursuing you today. So next week we're back. Sound good?
That's good.
Good.